Hi YouTube, welcome to the third part of the Python network scanner series. In this tutorial, we'll bring further improvements in this script, and I will show you guys how to import the argparse module, and this will allow us to take the target IP address from the user. So we don't have to hard code the target IP address in the code. By using the argparse, we can take the IP address in the user as the user argument when the program is executed. It will be a lot easier. We don't have to bring changes in the script every time we want to scan a new IP address. But before we get started, I got a couple of questions from the previous tutorial, which I will answer in the at the last part of this tutorial, if I remember. Hopefully I will remember that. So the question one was, can you explain the FFF part in here, the Ethernet, and the other one was that what is the difference between the ARP packet and the Ethernet frame. So yeah, I will explain that at the end of this tutorial. So let's get started. Now the first thing that you have to do is we have to import the argparse module. So we say import argparse. Once we have done that, then this piece of code here, we have to put it in a function. So let's call this function scan, and this scan will take an argument, the scan function. So let's put it instead into the code. So in here, now we don't need to hard code the IP address. We just have to pass an IP. So the IP address that we pass to the scan function, in here we are sending it as the packet destination or packet destination. So this is our function. Now in order to use this function, we need a main function. The main function is where our program execution starts and this script is executed. So let's quickly create this main function. Sorry, this is the main function. Now the first thing that we have to do is we have to use the argparse module, and we have to create an argument parser. And so let's do that. We will give it the name parser. We can give it any name we want. I've used parser, so let's create the argument parser. So argparse dot argument parser. We will also give it a description. I think it's optional. You don't have to do it, but let's give it a description. This description, we will give it something like a simple Python network ARP scanner or something like that. The next thing that we have to do after that is we have to next thing we have to do is we have to add a positional argument. The argument, in our case, the argument would be the IP address that we will take from the user target IP address. So for that, let's add the argument. So this is the parser that we have created, and for that we will create an argument. The argument would be the IP, and let's give a description for that as well. It will be the IP address of the target host. So it will take the IP address. Now that we have created the argument parser, the argument, and now we have to parse those arguments. So let's call it args, and let's parse those arguments using the parse args. Now that we have done this, now that we have parsed this IP argument, next thing we have to do is we have to call the scan function. So we call in the scan function, and we have to pass in the IP argument in here. So we call in the args, and we pass in the IP address. Just a quick overview. In here we have imported the argparse module. This line here, it creates the argument parser. In here we are taking the arguments. In this case, we just need one argument, the IP address. This parses those arguments, and in here we have passed the IP argument to the scan function. The scan function takes the IP address and it passes to the PDST part of the ARP packet. Now there's another question I had gotten about this asterisk here. What it means? The asterisk, it imports everything from the scapy.all module. Now the pro or the advantage of using this is that it can be very convenient when you need money or all the elements from a module. In this case, I'm using the ARP, Ether, and also ARP, these three classes and functions. So it's kind of handy, but you don't have to do that. You can also import specific classes or functions. So in this case, as I said, I'm using the ARP class, the Ether class, and the SRP function. The ARP class is used to create the ARP packet, the Ether class is used to create the Ethernet frame, and the SRP is used to send and receive the packet. So we can also do this: ARP, Ether, and SRP. So now we have imported all these three things, the ARP and Ether classes, and also the SRP function. So this is also one way to do it. So we can save it. Let's go to the terminal. Sudo, we have to. So now that we have the parser, we have used argparse. What we can do is using the -- help. Let me pull this up a bit. So in here you can see that it says a simple Python network ARP scanner. This is this part of the function, the argument parser. So it gives a simple description of what the parser is used for, and the positional arguments. In here we can see that it takes one argument, IP, and its IP address of the target host. In here it says the positional argument, which in this case it's the IP address, and it takes the IP address of the target host. This is the description. This is the description of the help section of the positional argument. It explains what do you need to pass in. So again, this time let's pass in the target. I believe it was 192.168.1.187. So let's run this. In here we can see that it has run that, and it has given the MAC address. The MAC address of this IP address, the host that is running this IP address, that's using this IP address of 192.168.1.187. Now, yes, so I received also a couple of questions from the previous tutorial. The first one was, can you explain the FF section? This part, what does it do? Now, the address that we have here, the FF, it's an the address is an Ethernet frame. It represents a broadcast MAC address. So when a frame is sent with this destination MAC address, it signals that the frame is meant to be received by all devices on the local network segment. This is commonly used for protocols like ARP, where a device broadcasts a request to find the MAC address corresponding to a specific IP address. All devices on the local network receive and process the broadcast frame, but only the intended recipient with a matching IP address will reply. As we saw, the first request, I believe it was who is, and then the second was is at. Only that particular IP address will respond with MAC address. And the second one was the second question was, what is the difference between ARP and Ether? So an ARP packet is used to map an IP address to a MAC address, so devices on the same network can communicate. It's like a helper message that says, who has this IP address? Tell me your MAC address. On the other hand, an Ethernet frame is the data packet that actually transports information between devices at the data link layer. It wraps the ARP packet for any other network packet, along with the MAC addresses and control information, enabling devices on a network to recognize and process it for further transmission or delivery. So this is it for this tutorial, guys. In this tutorial, we saw how to take an argument from the user and pass it to the scan function and get the MAC address of the target. So this is it for this one, guys. If you have any further questions, please leave it in the comment section below, and please do like, share, and subscribe. Thank you very much.